What's up, guys? Today we are working on a Nissan Titan XD turbo diesel Cummins. This truck is a 2017. It's got that famous bulletproof Cummins motor, 310 horsepower, 555 foot-pounds of torque. We're going to be flushing the brake fluid and changing the transmission fluid. Nissan has the maintenance interval set at 20,000 miles, which sounds about right because usually you probably do it annually, even biannually. Brake fluid is hydroscopic, so it absorbs water over time, which damages and degrades the brake system. So we do want to flush that out pretty frequently, actually. So today I'm going to be making a video showing you guys how to flush the brake fluid system and change the transmission fluid. On this Nissan Titan diesel, Nissan has integrated the master cylinder with the ABS brake control module. When you do a brake fluid flush on a system like this, I personally like to draw out all of the old fluid in the master cylinder reservoir first, because what we're going to be doing is pushing all of the brake fluid down and out of the wheels. So because of that, we don't want to be pushing old dirty fluid out of the master cylinder reservoir through the brake system. All of the contaminants and dirt could then potentially damage all of the seals in the ABS system, the master cylinder system. So we want to use a tool to draw out all of the old fluid in the master cylinder reservoir. So there's multiple ways to do this. There's a expensive fancy vacuum pump you can use. I'm going to be doing this more as a do-it-yourself version, so this is going to be more in terms of people who are looking to do it on their own and don't want to spend significant amounts of money. So all the tools that I'll be using today will be basic tools that you can buy at your local automotive store. The tool that I've concocted here is just a simple handheld vacuum pump, and I reduced the incoming line down to the small diameter because on this master cylinder reservoir they only give you a very small hole to fit this hose into, so we have to reduce it down. Now this is essentially a universal methodology for flushing your brake fluid system. This will essentially work on any master cylinder, slave cylinder system. Like I said, you want to remove all of this fluid in the master cylinder, all the old fluid first, so that way, so here I'm pumping it out, you can fill it back up with clean fluid. So like I said, we're going to drain out all this fluid up top of this master cylinder. Also, keep in mind, brake fluid is extremely acidic. So if you get it on the paint, it will permanently stain it. So don't do that. As you can see, using a protector here to keep the paint nice and clean. So keep the brake fluid away from the paint. And I'm just going to pump the rest of this fluid out. So after you've drained this master cylinder down, now the key here is you don't want to drain the master cylinder down below the bottom of the top of the main cylinder. So you want to leave a little fluid there. You have to, otherwise you will introduce air into the system and then you'll have to bleed the master cylinder separately. So just drain out what you can out of the master cylinder, get it down really low, and then fill it up with clean fluid. This Nissan calls for .3, .4 fluid. You can use a funnel, fill it back up. You'll notice the fluid, when it's new, for most varieties is very clear, and the old fluid that comes out is dark and dirty. So you're going to fill this up above the max fill line, because now we're going to pump all the fluid out of the calipers. Now we'll go to the bottom and start to open the calipers to drain the fluid out. I've gone ahead and removed all 4 wheels on the truck. You can go ahead and do them one by one, whichever works for you. I've opened up all 4 calipers because I'm going to do all 4 at once. If you're doing it by yourself, you can go ahead and get in the truck, open up all 4 bleeder valves like so. You have to take off this little rubber cap first. So you'll open this up. Okay, and then pump the brake pedal. I have an assistant doing it for me, so go ahead, you can pump it. Now you can see with the key on, the pump is actually activating and pushing out all this old brake fluid. Pump it again. So you're going to keep pumping this until the fluid turns clear. Now, as you can see, it's already getting a lot clearer. This is what it started as. See the end of that? All right, stop there. So the reason why we're pumping all of this fluid out is, again, here in this caliper, a lot of heat builds up and the fluid oxidizes and the pH level of the fluid turns acidic. And that, coupled with the water buildup, leads to the water boiling inside of the caliper. When the water boils inside of the caliper, you get a spongy pedal. It's called brake fade. And when the pH level of the fluid changes over time from degradation, you also end up with the inside of your brake system rotting out. So the rubber seals inside the caliper will break down. These rubber hoses here, they also start to break down and corrode internally. So that's why it's very important that you do this brake fluid flush. Eventually, this is going to start coming out clear. At that point, you can close this guy. Back here, I've already done it. You can't really tell, but what's coming out here is perfectly clear. That means the job is done. Now, after that's all said and done, what I like to do is I'll crack open the bleeder and wait until all those tiny air bubbles come out. So actually, you don't need to pump it at this point. You just crack it open like that. And once the air stops coming out, it's done. So right now the force of gravity is pushing the fluid from the master cylinder down and pushing out all of the air. Now, also very important while you're doing this, that you do not let the master cylinder reservoir run down low. Once you've pushed all the fluid out with your foot, now you're just pumping the brake pedal to push out all the old fluid. Once that's done, I'll open up all 4 of these bleeders and just let it gravity bleed for the final little push to get all the air out. Once that's done, tighten these up, put your caps back on, put your wheels back on, get in the truck, check your pedal, make sure it's nice and stiff, you're good to go.